They tried to sabotage my career without realizing I was the one authorizing their promotions. Stick around, because what started as a cheap betrayal turned into a masterclass in quiet revenge. And if you like stories where the underdog turns out to be the boss, hit that subscribe button. Peace doesn't come from money, but revenge, it's best served in total silence. I found that out a month ago when my family tried to block my promotion without realizing I was the final approval signature for the company they worked at. My name is Rachel Yoon, though in the fintech world most people just know me as RY, Purposefully Vague. Publicly, I'm the Chief Strategy Officer at Crestmoor Capital, a wealth management firm based in San Diego. What my family didn't know? I became the majority stakeholder 6 months ago through a shell fund I started at 22, built from my first cryptocurrency automation algorithm. It all began 12 years ago. I was sleeping on a friend's couch in Portland, teaching myself blockchain tech at night while working 2 part-time jobs. My brother Ryan dropped out of community college and rebranded himself as a serial entrepreneur, launching businesses that never survived tax season. Dad would say, Rachel's the sensible one. Sensible didn't mean supported. I built 3 fintech tools, sold them anonymously, and funneled the returns into blind investment vehicles. Ryan? He gave a TEDx talk on vision after joining Crestmoor as a junior advisor, thanks to family connections. They thought I was broke, underemployed, replaceable, so I let them think it. Meanwhile, I orchestrated a silent buyout of Crestmoor's voting shares, letting them keep their illusions. Until the day they tried to vote me out of a promotion. I approved it myself, then fired the ringleader. Guess who? Ryan. So when the board promoted me to Chief Strategy Officer, they thought they were recognizing a sharp but safe strategist. They had no idea they were crowning their new majority owner. Ryan's reaction? Absolutely priceless. Wow, nice upgrade. He scoffed over Sunday barbecue. Don't get too comfortable, though. Strategy's a different beast when real money's involved. Dad just nodded stiffly. Mom chimed in. Maybe Ryan can mentor you a bit. He's handled million-dollar portfolios since his 20s. I just smiled and bit into my corn on the cob. I'll keep that in mind, I said lightly. What they didn't know? The final acquisition documents were already signed, sealed, and stored in my home safe. But Ryan couldn't stand it. He had spent years as the family's golden boy. Smooth talker, big dreamer, the one with a LinkedIn full of buzzwords. I was the background noise, the over-educated girl who lacked charisma. At first, he dropped by Crestmoor to chat with execs posing as a concerned brother. I watched through glass walls as he laughed with the COO, casually mentioning I was burnt out and still finding my footing. Then came the HR whispers, anonymous concerns about fake credentials, misrepresented experience, even forged awards. All nonsense, but calculated. When I confronted him, he didn't blink. I'm just protecting you, Ryan said smoothly. You know how firms get. They love ticking boxes these days. Can't blame you for catching the wave. He leaned in. But I'd hate to see you crash. I stayed silent, letting him talk. Then yesterday, it arrived. A sleek folder sent directly to the boardroom. Doctored statements, fake wire transfers, claims of fraud and data tampering. The board called an emergency meeting for Monday. And I'll be waiting, with the truth and majority control. Ryan must have caught wind of something through Crestmoor's Salesforce gossip chain, because at last night's family dinner, he was practically glowing. The board wants me in the room tomorrow, he said, smug as ever. Sounds like there's a shakeup coming. Realignment at the top. Mom gasped with excitement. Dad lifted his scotch. About time, he said. No one asked why I hadn't been invited to this so-called realignment meeting about my own division. But what they didn't know? I'd spent the entire night assembling a full report, cataloging every whisper, every forged email, every backdoor manipulation Ryan had attempted over the past 3 months. And this time, I was including one document he never saw coming: Crestmoor's updated ownership ledger. Tomorrow, they'd learn who really owned the company. If you think Ryan's gonna walk away from this untouched, subscribe. Because the next chapter, it flips everything. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't hurt either. I was ready. Sitting in my office with a folder of evidence organized down to the font size, I saw it clearly. Ryan's takedown attempt wasn't a threat. It was a spotlight, an opening to finally rewrite my own reputation and remove him for good. The board meeting was scheduled for 9 a.m. sharp. They thought I'd be the one under review. They forgot who signs the board's compensation packages. I arrived at Crestmoor by 7:30 a.m., iced coffee in hand, calm and collected. At 8:45, Ryan strutted into the glass-paneled lobby in his boldest blazer, our parents behind him, all smiles like they were attending a ribbon-cutting ceremony. "Is the board ready for us?" he asked, voice smooth, confidence high. From my second-floor corner office, I watched them being escorted to the executive boardroom. And I smiled. Every board member had received my midnight dossier. If you've ever waited for the moment when truth walks in and masks fall off, don't miss what happens next. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll take you inside the boardroom, where everything changed. At exactly 9 a.m., I stood, adjusted my blazer, and stepped into the hallway. This was it. If you've ever been overlooked, underestimated, or told to wait your turn, don't blink. Hit that subscribe button, because what happens next is the moment I stopped waiting. I'm to lead. Elias Romero, Crestmoor's board chair, was already mid-sentence when I entered the room. "These allegations against Miss Yoon are quite serious." "Sorry I'm late," I said smoothly, taking the seat at the head of the table without hesitation. Ryan turned, stunned. His smug expression cracked, instantly. "Rachel, this is a closed session," he snapped. "You weren't invited." I folded my hands calmly. Actually, I was never uninvited. It's hard to run a board meeting without the company's principal owner, wouldn't you agree? Silence. Ryan's face paled. Mom blinked as if trying to clear fog. Dad's mouth twitched, caught between shock and denial. "What are you even saying?" Ryan scoffed. "Crestmoor is publicly owned." "It was," I said, nodding toward Elena, my assistant, who stepped forward with a black folio and began distributing documents. "Until 4 months ago, when Crestmoor was fully acquired by Archspire Group LLC. Care to guess who owns that?" Chairs shifted, papers rustled. Eyes widened as the room filled with realization. The anonymous buyout everyone had speculated about wasn't so anonymous anymore. Ryan's voice wavered. "This is insane. You're just—" I raised an eyebrow. "Careful. You're speaking to the majority shareholder now." And just like that, the room belonged to me. "Just a data nerd? Just the boring one?" "Yeah, I've heard that one before," I said, smiling calmly. "And you've said it more times than I can count." I glanced at Elena. "Would you?" She gave a small nod and tapped her tablet. The speakers in the boardroom crackled, then filled with Ryan's voice, smooth and poisonous in a series of private recordings. "She's book smart, sure," he said in one. "But she doesn't have the spine for leadership." "Trust me, the board will figure that out soon." Another recording followed. "Honestly, she's a diversity win. They had to pick someone." The room went still. Tension thickened like fog. And just like that, the story Ryan built for years began to collapse. On him. Has anyone reviewed her department's books lately? Another clip played. I'm hearing whispers. Each seed of doubt, every whispered smear, now turned confession. In his own voice. No room left to spin it. Ryan's face was drained of color. His practiced swagger was gone. The directors looked on, their silence more damning than anything spoken. "And then there's this," I said, lifting a manila folder. The same anonymous evidence Ryan mailed to the board. Inside, forged transactions, doctored screenshots, a pathetic, desperate case of fake wrongdoing, character defamation, fabricated fraud, deliberate sabotage of executive leadership, I said clearly. Did you really think no one would vet this before taking it seriously? I was protecting Crestmoor, Ryan choked out. You're not fit to lead. You've always been the invisible one, the side act, not the one who deserves the spotlight, I said, my voice even. No, Ryan, I'm the one who built the future. And now? I'm the one holding you accountable for every lie, every whisper, and every risk you've made this company bear. Mom finally spoke, her voice paper thin. Rachel, surely you're not going to ruin your brother's life over this. As if he didn't try to ruin mine, I turned to her, my voice steady. As if you didn't walk in here expecting to watch me crash? Dad lifted a hand halfway, hesitant. We were just here to support Ryan. No, I said, locking eyes with him. You were doing what you've always done, betting on the wrong child. I faced the board and stood tall. Apologies for the tone of this meeting, I said, voice measured, but I needed every member of this board to see what's really at stake. Mr. Ryan Yoon has knowingly crossed ethical and legal lines in a coordinated attempt to undermine my leadership. A beat of silence. This wasn't just an attack on me. It was an attack on Crestmoor's integrity and its future. Elias Romero, the board chair, cleared his throat. Miss Yoon, what action are you requesting? I said, folding my hands calmly. First, I request that all accusations against me be formally dismissed, based on verified documentation and audio recordings. Second, I move for immediate disciplinary action against Mr. Yoon for corporate misconduct. I paused, then continued. I also ask that a formal report be delivered to Ryan's licensing board and current financial affiliations, complete with supporting materials. His behavior must have professional consequences. You can't, Ryan said hoarsely, his voice cracking. You'll ruin everything I've worked for. Like you tried to ruin mine? I said, not raising my voice. The difference is, I brought proof. You brought fiction. I turned once more to the board. Lastly, I request that Ryan Yoon and both of our parents be permanently banned from Crestmoor Capital property. Any attempt to contact employees or interfere with operations should result in immediate legal action. Rachel, please, Mom cried, tears streaking through her foundation. We're still family. I let out a quiet, bitter laugh. Family celebrates your wins. Family lifts you up when you're down. Family doesn't try to erase your legacy out of jealousy. I slid one final folder across the conference table, its gold embossed cover reflecting the overhead lights. This, I said evenly, is the acquisition agreement from my first fintech company. I sold it for $50 million, 0 cents, when I was 27. The second, a blockchain auditing platform, went for $180 million, 0 cents, just 2 years later. I turned to Dad, holding his gaze. I could have bought that oceanfront golf membership you always wanted. Could have covered every one of Ryan's failed ventures without blinking. But I didn't. Ah. They stared down at the paperwork in silence, watching, wordlessly, as the numbers rewrote everything they thought they knew about me. I stayed quiet, I said, because I needed to see who stood with me when they believed I had nothing. I glanced at Ryan. You all failed that test. He looked stunned. You're destroying my career, he whispered. No, I replied. You destroyed it the day you tried to sabotage mine. The only difference is, I have the proof. You have the guilt. I gathered the folders calmly and stood. This meeting is officially adjourned, I said to Elias. Please make sure the full record is secured. Then I turned to them. Ryan, Mom, Dad, security will see you out. Wait, Ryan called out, his voice cracking as I neared the door. Please. I was jealous. I couldn't stand that you were finally winning. His words were soft, desperate. We can fix this, right? We're still family. I paused at the doorway, turned back once, slowly. Do you know what separates us, Ryan? He looked up, eyes wet, pride gone. When you thought I was struggling, you kicked me lower. And when I was finally thriving, I stayed silent, just so you wouldn't feel small. I let out a slow breath. That's the difference between building something real and playing pretend with borrowed status. The weeks that followed were revealing. Ryan was terminated within days. Once the recordings and forged documents were reviewed, his firm issued a quiet but swift dismissal. Word of my majority ownership at Crestmoor spread through the financial world, and suddenly, the same networks that once elevated him began asking about me. My parents left apologetic voicemails. Ryan sent an email. His attorney followed with a vague, personal growth statement. I archived every message. 3 months later, I was finishing a late-night portfolio review when Elena buzzed in. "There's someone here," says it's personal. It was Ryan, but not the self-assured version I once knew. He looked worn down. No sharp suit, no Rolex. Just jeans, sneakers, and a basic gray hoodie. No bravado, just fatigue. "I'm not here to argue," he said quietly, holding up a hand. "I just need to leave something with you." He placed a manila folder on my desk. "Old emails, accounts, every tool I used to try and discredit you. I'm forwarding copies to the board, too. No spin, no damage control." I didn't say anything. "Why now?" I asked after a moment. He looked down. "Because you were right. You were building something. I was imitating it and resenting you the whole time." He turned to leave, then paused at the door. "I'm starting over. Interning at a local fintech incubator. No fake titles this time. I don't expect forgiveness, but letting me fail, that finally taught me something no one else ever did." He reached for the door handle. "Ryan," I said gently. He paused, glancing back, just enough hope in his eyes to remind me of who he used to be. "Send me your resume in a year," I said, soft but firm. "Not for leadership," I added. "But if you're serious about starting over the right way, we're always open to people willing to earn it from the ground up." A single tear welled in Ryan's eye. He nodded. No spin, no clever exit line, just quiet acceptance. Then he turned and walked away. 6 months later, Crestmoor Capital has exceeded even my boldest forecasts. We've expanded into 3 new sectors, onboarded socially conscious investors, and launched a mentorship fund for overlooked founders, especially women of color in tech and finance. It's real, it's lasting, it's mine. Mom and Dad still message now and then, usually when they want something, or when they're name-dropping their trailblazing daughter in circles they once tried to exclude me from. I keep it polite, but distant. The approval I used to chase? I don't need it anymore. The corner office they said I'd never earn looks out over the San Diego harbor. Some nights, I sit by the glass as the sky turns gold, thinking about betrayal, patience, and the strange gift of being underestimated. Last week, I got a holiday card. No apologies, no guilt trip. Just a handwritten note from Ryan. "You didn't win because of us. You succeeded in spite of us. I'm finally learning how to build for real." Maybe that's the truest form of power. Not loud, not vengeful, but earned. Undeniable. Thank you for listening, for seeing me when those closest to me didn't. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever been the quiet one? The invisible one? What would you have done? Comment below, share your truth. And don't forget to like and subscribe, not just to follow my next move, but to reclaim your own. Because success isn't about proving others wrong. It's about finally proving yourself right.